Because I think it's kind of grayed out, but I think it's gonna go. Okay, I think we're there. Yep, I just seen it going live. Hey y'all, come on in the room.
Hey, hey, hey.
We are live and live in color.
Thank
Thank you guys for your patience. Okay, I see my broadcast is a little delayed, but it's all good. It's all good. We are live. Okay, you guys tag, share, and invite. After you have shared, note you shared so I can shout you out. After you have shared, know that you shared, I shout you out. Listen, we're going to cut to the chase because we don't have any time to waste. I'm going to, as you guys are getting the numbers up, I'd love to see you guys getting in double digits. Like I said, tag, share, and invite. So go ahead and share it on your page and then tag 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 married people or engaged couples that you know that need to be part of the conversation. I have the one and only Trell Ravenel here, who's actually a official host of this show, but tonight she's going to be our guest of honor as she talks about how to not even just survive, but how to thrive in this crisis and dealing with conflict. Because I'm sure as it relates to COVID, in some instances, conflict will arise, whether we're inside a crisis or not. That just adds extra pressure to the relationship. So Trell, without further ado, say hello to everyone.
Hey, 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 everyone. So excited to be here. Excited to have this conversation with you all tonight. Make sure you tag, share, and invite. It's going to be juicy.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm not going to read Trail bio. Trail's my sister. In case you haven't noticed the resemblance, and if you guys have watched the show for any amount of time, you will know that's my sister in Christ. She's also my sister in blood. Same parents. Very blessed for that. And so much things I can say about Trail. But one thing I always say about her, I haven't said it in a while, but one thing I love about her is that she's not a person that's shifted by happenings. She definitely has the joy of the Lord, and regardless of what's happening in her life, she knows how to keep that peace in her mind and joy in her heart, and that is a beautiful thing. I don't know if it's a gift. I think partly a gift, but I think it also partly can be learned. And so I'm sure she'll be giving some wives some insights into temperament with that, and also husbands on tonight. But also, Trail has been, she's published several books, has over a dozen that some of them are published, some of them are not. I think you already published like 5 or 6, at least 5 she's published. I actually have a couple here.
9, I think, altogether.
You have 9 written or 9 published?
9. I want to say about 9 published. I have to go back and check that
number. A lot. Right. The transformational process according to Proverbs for the next 31 days. Rolling with the punches, how to triumph in the midst of adversity.
Get it to win it. Bestseller.
Okay. She has a best-selling book, In It to Win It, 31-day guide on how to improve communication and maximize intimacy in your marriage. The Goal Achievers book, and many others, So just to name a few, okay? So she's very studied and very experienced when it comes to marriage, when it comes to winning and against odds and thriving in marriage. So without further ado, Trail's going to be sharing with us a tool that you can put in your toolbox to understand the framework for marriage and communication. So I'm just going to be like a fly on the wall. I might chime in here or there, but I'm going to let her go. I'm trying to see if anything else I want to share about Trail. Most importantly, as you guys know, she's a woman of God. She's the founder of Wives Who Win Community, which is an online platform which you can join and be a part of at the Wives Who Win Training Center. And that's enough for now. So Trail, take it away. I know you have some great tips tonight that you want to share with couples in this time, because I can only imagine. Now, me and my husband, we introvert nation. So we really ain't having much conflict. But you probably like, y'all probably need to have some more communication. We have our scheduled days and we've been incorporating a little other things here and there, but we're definitely introvert nation, which could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing sometimes. I'm sure you'll talk about that too, because too much distance and too much alone time is not good. So how do we balance this thing out and work this thing out as we are with our admired ones 24/7.
Absolutely. I was trying to get on live on IG, but I forgot how to do it that quick.
I think it's two ways you can do it. I think if you touch your picture.
I did that, but it's showing my video from last time. Like, I don't want
I've gotten
that.
on there a couple of times.
Okay.
I look like,
Well, let me go and get
Dr.
started out. If I
Foley
figure
doing
it
our
out, I will.
conversation. Oh, she's arguing.
Okay, I think I got it here. So listen, you guys. Hey. I'm Trail Ravenel, your life and marriage transformation coach or wife coach. And I'm here just to have this conversation with you tonight because I believe it's very important that we're talking about this, especially during this time of the pandemic or the world crisis. You know, how many of you would agree that in order for a relationship to work or to thrive, whether that's in a crisis or outside of a crisis, you need two things? Two things. If anybody can tell me what those two things are, you need two things, and it's not love. Although love is a very important aspect of it, but when you have these two things, love is intertwined, if you would, it is entangled with these two things. I'm going to tell you because we don't have a lot of time. So the two things are trust and commitment. You need trust and commitment. And what I do know that even before this pandemic, there were a lot of relationships, married couples, married couples and also dating relationships that had issue with both of those things, right? You had issue with either trust or either commitment. And it's hard, especially during a time of crisis, to try to build on trust, right? So either it's there or it's not, or you can build on it, but it's very challenging in the time of something that we're going on right now, because there may have been other things that have happened in the relationship or in the marriage that has violated the trust or that has challenged the commitment level that you have toward your spouse. And what I do know is that when you're committed, that love is there, that trust is there, that respect is there. You have to first make up in your mind that commitment and trust is going to be there. So when you have those things as your bearings, if you would, then you can start building the relationship house as Dr. John Gottman describes it as. And I just want to talk to you all a little bit about those different attributes of that house and to share with you of what you can do even now to build your marriage house, to sustain it. So if you, before this pandemic, you guys were rocky, if you had issues with the relationship. Now, I'm not saying go to the husband and you're trying to have this whole counseling session with him. What I am suggesting to you is that you're working these areas from the inside out. I'm a true believer that in order for you to experience any level of change, that change has to first take place inward. And when you experience inward change, outward change automatically manifests. So what I'm sharing with you tonight is work out your own soul salvation, if you would, work out your own internal issues, your own internal garbage, your own internal crap, as my latest word. And then you'll see that manifest inside the marriage relationship. One thing I've been saying, and I just love it, is you can't get what you ain't got. So you can, many people want to experience this amazing marriage and this peace and this positive light inside their relationship. But when you look inward, are you possessing that thing? So when you automatically possess a thing, you manifest a thing. That's a hashtag. When you possess a thing, you manifest the thing. So we want to learn how to manifest the things. We want to learn how to possess so that we can manifest. So in the relationship house, we're creating a shared meaning. So I'm going to ask you the question, what is it about your spouse that do you have in common? You may think that, well, that's true, that's easy. Oh, maybe or maybe not. Because again, before this pandemic, we were rustling and bustling, going about our business, doing this and doing that. Many people have been married for years. They've been married for decades for some, and you didn't take the time out to really think about what that we have in common. What is it that I really like about my spouse? What is it that I don't like about him? What does it mean to be husband and wife? What does it mean to have things similar or dissimilar? So I want you to ask the question right now, what things do you have in common with your husband? And for you guys that are watching this because you're on Instagram as well, or with your wife, what are the shared meanings? What are the most rewarding facts about your marriage, if I can ask you that. What can be the most messy, but the most awesome thing at the same time? One thing I often say is that the thing that I loved about my husband and what partially attracted me to him and kept me there is something that annoys me now. And that thing is that he has work ethic. He works too much. And that's one thing that I really, truly appreciated about him. But now it's like, okay, dude, I'm gonna need you to, learn some boundaries. I don't like it as much now because sometimes it takes away. So that's the first thing I'm gonna ask you is create that shared meaning. Start thinking about the things that you have in common, the things that you like and the things that you don't like. And here's the thing, there can be things that you don't like about your spouse and it'd be okay. Who said that you have to enjoy and like and appreciate and love every crick and cranny about who he is or about him as in a whole? And this can be as simple as when he comes home, he doesn't dust off his shoes, right? Or he throws his clothes in the hallway and never picks them up. So it doesn't have to be him, any character issues or flaws. That's not what we're talking about here. But just those little small things. For me, my husband piles dishes all day long. But he cooks.
They forget where the trash is located.
Come on.
They just amnesia.
Come on. But he cooks. So here's the thing. So I had to say, okay, I had to do a switch off. Am I going to complain about the dishes, which I still do sometimes? And we're going to complain about the dishes, or I'm going to appreciate the fact that he cooks and he cooks often, right? So that's one thing that I would share with you. Another things that I would share with you is how can you, even in this moment of pandemic, make your life dreams come true? When was the last time you guys sat down and really just had a conversation about your dreams? This isn't about, oh, I'm so glad this pandemic happened because you were never at home. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. I'm so glad. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is when was the last time you truly sat down and you were invested in his future? This is a good time to do that, wives. Honey, you know what? I know we got away from it and I know we haven't had this conversation in a long time, but I know you were telling me that you wanted to open this business. I know you were telling me that you wanted to get a studio. Do you have anything more about that? I would love to hear about what you have going on. I would love to hear what dreams and what aspirations may have come up within the last few months or even the last few years and how I can support you in that. You're talking about intimacy. You're talking about a man that will be drawn toward you and that would be willing to, even in this time of pandemic and you being so close together and in each other's spaces and faces. And just to talk about that for a little bit, although this is a time where it's forced you guys to be in the same room many times or the same space with one another, this does not mean that you are inconsiderate of individual time, because I still truly believe in individual time. Just because we're in a house together, that doesn't mean that we're just in each other's faces all day long and we just have to be, oh honey, I love you too. No, that's not what this is about. But this is a time to learn how to operate with each other and sometimes around one another. Because sometimes you can wake up and be like, man, I don't feel like cooking today. I know I did. I don't feel like washing dishes. At some point, it felt like I went to bed washing dishes. I woke up washing dishes. I dreamed about dishes because we're cooking and doing things more in the house because we're in the house. I'm washing clothes. I really feel like a domesticated wife right about now. And if anybody knows me,
we gotta give you a dishes hack, which is paper products.
We do, but the pots and pans, girl, the dishes are not the problem. But it's the pots and pans and the things that we use, to cook the food. Okay. My husband cooks like Dad, Jill. So you remember, Dad used to dirty every dish in the house. Like my husband can cook 3 things and everything is dirty. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? So we're still in that little phase. But at times he'll wash dishes, he'll put it in the dishwasher and things of that nature. So, even though we're in the space, we've learned how to kind of operate around one another. And sometimes I see him, I see him in the morning, then I'll see him during lunch, and then I'll see him at night. So even when I get off, per se, sometimes he's still working and I let him work. I try not to interrupt him, even though he's in the house. I try not to interrupt him or go downstairs and bother him or anything like that. I let him do what he does. Now, if he's down there too long, I'm like, honey, okay, it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock. You need to come to bed or you need to be done for the night. So we've learned that, we've been very strategic about our date night situation. We had a virtual date night with one of our couple friends in Atlanta. That was super fun. We both got no, they cooked. We got takeout. We sat there and ate and we talked. We've had movie night, date night, dinner night, date night. This night, I shared a song with him and I told him I wanted us to dance for date night. So just different things, just making sure we stay engaged, but also making sure that we still understand that we're individuals. And just because we're forced to be home together, that doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries and we're inconsiderate of each other's space. Okay. So that was just make your dreams come true offset that I did there.
One
Okay. The
thing
third thing is
you had
managing
dropped real
conflict. Go
quick,
ahead, Jill.
Joe.
Go
Really
ahead.
quick, you had dropped intimacy.
Mhm.
And I know I've heard this. I don't know if it's you, other people, I've heard it before. And I love this because intimacy, when you think about that word, into me, I see. And so I think sometimes we get so caught up and we're so wired to be focused on our own self. And I know I've been guilty of this. Like, I want to talk about what my day is going like and this about me. But intimacy is into me, I see. So, seeing inside the other person too, and being genuinely curious about what they went through. Even though they're home, they still got the same mental stress of job. I mean, not of travel or commuting, but so definitely be into me, meaning into that person.
Yes.
That you see them and let them know I see you, I hear you, I appreciate you, and just creating that space and holding that for one another.
Absolutely. And I'm going to share more on that when I talk about building the love maps, because that's turning toward your spouse and just letting them know, like, here, I'm present with you. I appreciate this time with you and I'm here to serve. And that looks different from other couples, from many different couples, right? So managing conflict is another thing, because you're going to have conflict. I mean, it's just what it is. Whether you're in a pandemic or not in a pandemic, conflict is conflict, and it's healthy. It can be healthy, and I encourage it. And I would encourage anybody to go through that experience of being able to have the conflict, but resolve the conflict. So what my husband and I have been able to do is manage the conflict. Now, the conflict is not always solved right then and there. We're not there. So sometimes we have conflict and it's not always solved right then and there. Sometimes we have to come back. Sometimes we have to regroup. Sometimes we have to reflect, and then sometimes it's at a later time. It's just, we're just going to take it off the table and come back, but we're always sure to come back, and we've learned how to manage it. Because what I do know is that over 60% of problems and issues in marriage or in life, in marriage and relationships, are unsolvable. So these are things that are not going to be solved per se.
Wow.
So we have, right, that's a big number, but we have to learn how to manage. How can we manage this problem or this issue, this thing that we're confronting on a regular basis without it destroying the marriage relationship? And that's something hard to do, especially if you're dealing with a mature couple, or you're dealing with a couple that's not emotionally intelligent or have not, just grown and developed in certain areas. That's going to be very hard for them to do. A couple that did not practice or witness conflict resolution growing up. I mean, I don't think I did. I saw conflict, but I didn't necessarily see, my parents come together and say, okay, we're resolving this, and kids come around, let me show you the lesson, right? I didn't experience that. So I didn't know anything was wrong until I saw something different. And a lot of times, growing up, and not that my parents had a horrible marriage or anything of that nature, but it was just different from others, and the same with your parents. So I didn't know anything to compare it with. So what I knew is what I knew. And I thought that that's what it was until I had experienced something different. So in managing the conflict, you have to learn to accept your partner for who he is or for who she is, and be open to compromising. Everything is not about you. If you're in a place and you feel like it's all about you, and it's all about you getting your way and your perspective and your feelings, and you're in a sad situation, honey, and you're really going to create a lot of tension and distance in that marriage relationship. The other thing under managing conflict is learn how to discuss your problems and take turns listening. I don't know if you were on my 5-day free masterclass that I did a couple weeks ago, but I talked about active listening. And many of the things I talked about are not things that we learned growing up. And in fact, I could just be honest with you, I didn't learn it until I was probably late 20s or early 30s, what really active listening was, especially when it came to a relationship. Communication is not a two-way street, it's a four-way street. That's all I'm going to give you. If you want access to it, you'll have to inbox me to get access to it. But there's so many things when it comes to active listening. And then another thing under managing conflict is practice self-loathing. How do you, self-soothing, I should say, how do you calm down? One practice I'm going to share with you, I'm going to give this to you as a bonus because I also shared this in that masterclass, is that you have to learn how to breathe and ask yourself 4 questions before you respond. So let's say that you have some tension in the home, or even during this time of the pandemic, you're just frustrated, agitated for no reason, right? So before you respond or you go in, breathe and ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it honest? And when I say this, how would it change the trajectory of our relationship? How is it going to change the dynamics of my marriage today? And you have to be able to say and do it at the same time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you need to practice breathing twice, then do that. You want to make sure that your pulse is down. My steady pulse is about 80, 86 resting pulse, right? So you want to make sure, well, resting is 60. You want to make sure that your resting pulse is low. You want to make sure that you're not fluttered. You want to make sure that the sweat is gone. You want to make sure that your heart palpitations are gone. You want to make sure that you don't feel that warm knot inside your abdomen, right? So you want to make sure that you're at a calm and a peaceful state before you respond, before you engage, before you feel like you have something to say, because if not, you're going to be in a bad place. The next thing, Joe, you want to say something before I go on to the next?
I know you mentioned 5 to 7 points, and I'm taking notes, and I'm not sure if I'm capturing the point. So if you're giving up points, could you, let me see what I have. I have you and your spouse, write down what you and your spouse have in common. Was that number 1?
So number 1 was create shared meaning. Yes. So number 1 was create shared meaning.
Okay. And for those who are watching, you guys scribe this for yourself and others. Okay. And then I had number 2. Last time, is that also under your goals? Is that under create shared meaning? Sit down and do your goals, dreams.
That's make life dreams come true is number 2.
Okay. Make life dreams come true. And then I had accept your partner for who they are.
That's number 3 is manage conflict, and then under manage conflict. Yep. Mm-hmm. Are those 3 things that I just talked about.
And then number 4, I have why did I ask you breathe? I don't think I'm supposed to put that.
That's under manage conflict. So 3 techniques under manage conflict was accept the influence from your partner. So just be open to compromise. That's under manage conflict. The second thing under manage conflict is discussing the problems and taking turns listening. The third thing under managing conflict is calm down, the breathing exercise.
Okay. And now sometimes I'm sure everybody don't have the Fitbit or a way to measure that. So I was saying maybe you can add to this too. What I kind of caught in that is just pay attention to your body instincts and signals. And so if you realize that you're a little excited, if your energy level is a little high, if you're having a little bit of anxiety, that may not be the ideal time, because you may have a level of buildup, and it may, when you communicate, maybe more frustration than anything that come through, and you don't want to create that type of environment. So that's what Charles saying, and those things, for those who got your Fitbit and other things, you can actually know what your resting pulse is and some of those other particulars. But if you don't have that, you guys I think now more than ever, especially with the COVID-19 thing, where we're more in tune with our body like never before, trying to get the signals of what's happening. So take advantage of this time to get to know yourself more and to know what those indications are for you as you move forward in your communication.
Absolutely. And you can, like you said, you can feel it. You know when you're upset, you know when you're mad, right? So you feel things happening in your body, and you have to be very consciously aware. Somebody write that down. Okay. So the 4th thing I'm going to share, 1, 2, 3, 4 is maintain a positive perspective. A lot of times we have our own things going on, Joe, right? Our own internal little things, especially women when it comes to hormones and things of that nature. You can be mad at the boss or the coworker or just, mad, not necessarily mad, but kind of bothered by your business not being prosperous right now, or any little thing can be happening, right? So we have to just understand that even though other things are happening, y'all listen, this is coming straight from Heaven's Fresh. I better get y'all pen and paper out. Even though things are happening externally, They cannot control what's going on internally. You have to be in a position where you're setting the tone, not only inward, but also outward. So, but if you're not in a healthy place inwardly, you can't do that outwardly. So although things are happening externally and everything that's happening right now, and especially when it comes to the pandemic, we cannot control any of this right now. There's some things in your marriage you cannot control. There's some things, many things in your spouse that you cannot control. But if you maintain a positive perspective, that goes back to Abraham and Sarah in 1 Peter 3, when Peter talked about you winning over your spouse. You should be in a position where you can win over anybody because of what's going on inside of you. So if you're turning people away more than you're turning people toward, not necessarily you, but the God in you, it is then time to do some self-exploration. Well, during this time of being in this crisis and being in the home, in the environment with your spouse all day long, maintain a positive perspective. And it doesn't have to be from a fake place or a phony place. One thing that is so vital in marriage relationships is building a friendship. I talked about that also in my masterclass, cultivating and nurturing a friendship. And this is all under maintaining a positive perspective, because when you like your spouse and you like them as a friend, it's easier to be positive in that environment because you treat them as a friend first. So the same way you would treat your BFF or, your close friend is the same way you should be treating your spouse, because at this point, I would hope that they're either a really close friend or a best friend. So when that friendship in marriage is strong, you have something there. Because even though my husband, he's my husband, he's my friend. I generally and genuinely like him, right? I authentically like him. Now, he annoys me sometimes, as I do him, because that's just what it is, right? But he's my friend. So I look at him as my friend. I treat him as my friend. In those annoying moments, he's still my friend, right? So that's number 4. Number 5, Joe, you want to say something before we go on to number 5?
Yeah. You always know I want to say something. Before you go any further, earlier on that last point you were just talking about during this time, what I got was make peace with yourself and make peace with God. This past week we're dealing with emotional healing and spiritual healing. If you missed it, don't miss it the next time. But nevertheless, and we gave the women an opportunity to just forgive themselves. See, that's a big thing. Being able to forgive yourself and being able to, not to let go, even not to hold any grudges against God, right? Yeah. And also know that God has forgiven you. Sometimes, if those are the 2 most important relationships that you have, right? Your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself. If you can't make peace in those situations, your husband ain't got a chance. Your wife don't got a fighting chance. So in this time, make peace with yourself. Of all the things that you did wrong, it is okay. It is okay. Don't hold that against yourself, and just make peace and move on. And then other thing, Cheryl's talking about friendship. This is essential. And I know the truth, unfortunately, we don't always start relationships with friendships, because we started with sometimes lust, sometimes with just, chemistry, and just be so, oh my God, you're so beautiful. I just want to take you home, be like a steak on a plate or whatever. So I get it. And so, and then that's, I got it. However, you may need to take a step back. And I want to say it's never too late to build that friendship. So even if you're in a marriage and it's kind of like an awkwardness or whatever, if you practice that intimacy and you practice being into them and showing them that you care and asking questions to learn even more about your partner, I would say it's never too late to build that friendship, even within the marriage union.
Absolutely. It's never too late. Absolutely. It's never too late. But it's something that you must be intentional about doing. Intentionality, consistency, and committed to doing. So you must be intentional. You must be consistent in what you do, and you must be committed. ICC, intentional, consistent, and committed. And I found that we'll be intentional, but that consistency part is huge for a lot of people. And that's what a lot of people go wrong. And you see that across the board, not just in their marriage relationship, but also in their friendships, their business, their employment, it is across the board. So if you're consistent in one area, it is easier for you to be consistent in other areas. So the next what I'll talk about, 5, is turning toward instead of turning away. And what Gottman talks about this, he talks about showing bids of emotional connection. How are you connecting? And you may be asking, well, what is a bid? So a bid is the fundamental unit of emotional communication. So how are you emotionally communicating with your spouse? How, and this can be verbal or nonverbal. You know, many times we think it's verbal communication, but it can be verbal, nonverbal, it can be small, it can be big. You know, how are they trying to get your attention and how are you responding? For instance, if your partner or your husband, wife is, you know, in the kitchen and they just yelled out and say, hey, guess what happened at work today? And you say nothing. You don't even acknowledge that they said anything. You don't acknowledge that they're speaking or they're speaking to you. That's turning away. But if you said, "Oh man, what happened? What's going on? You want to talk about it?" That's turning toward. And anytime you turn toward, you're making deposit. But when you turn away, you're making withdrawals. And the deposits and withdrawals I'm referring to are emotional deposits and withdrawals. So you want to make sure that you're not ignoring one another. Yes, I know you're in the house all day with the person, and I know that things can get a little testy at times, but always make sure that you're showing that affection emotionally. This is not physically, although it can be. But we miss the emotional piece, Jill. A lot of times we talk about the physical piece, the sexual piece, this, that. But no, what about the emotional piece? What about when I said, honey, are you upstairs? And you didn't respond. You just ignored me, right? That's turning away. And those things we have to be more consciously aware of, turning toward instead of turning away. So those bids of connection. The next one I want to share, then I'm going to let you come in, Jill, because I know you want to say something, because it's kind of go almost hand in hand, is sharing fondness and admiration with one another. You know, building that emotional bank account. So that goes back to the emotional deposits and withdrawals. How are you building the emotional bank with your spouse? And anybody that's on here tonight, if you want to get access to the emotional bank, I'll give it to you. I can send it to you via email. You can just go to Wives Who Win and subscribe to my list, and I'll make sure you get a copy of that so you can see what the emotional bank looks like, and you guys can start that. But start putting in more emotional connection and more emotional coins, if you would, into that relationship. Go ahead, Jill. You can ask a question, then I'll talk more about that.
I just was going to two things. I was going to shout out Manessa. She shared earlier, and I totally forgot, as promised, to shout her out. So hey, cuz, thanks so much for sharing.
Hey.
I see a couple of people came on. Hey y'all, make sure y'all share, and I will shout you out more timely now that I have my Facebook device up as well. But in terms of turning towards and turning away, how can I say that? My husband would wear earphones all the time. So sometimes I'm speaking to him, and sometimes I don't realize he's on headphones. And so that sometimes, you know, like I caught myself that days like, babe, stop wearing headphones 24/7. Like, I'm trying to talk to you and you just living my best life, watching the movie, listening to this podcast. And we probably still want to have some more follow-on conversations, because I don't think he's not intentionally turning away, but he's just really introverted into his own thing. And even in that moment, in his good intentions, unintentional turning away, it still can't be that. But what I do try to do is, when I see the air, because sometimes they wear big ones and then sometimes we wear small ones. I prefer the big ones, because then I'm very clear. He can't hear me. And so a lot of times I wave, and then he'd be like, oh, babe, what's up? You know, or something like this, which the crazy thing is I bought him those, which it isn't even about me. Just anyway, when you have other things that play like that, you have to find ways, and we're finding ways to manage that, because even like he can't be on that all the time, because then that's still turning away. But also when he is on that, I do in other ways to kind of get his attention. And sometimes I do like literally get his attention, you know, then or otherwise, to help him turn towards. But even with that, that can be kind of wearing you out, because you don't always want to feel like, you know, you gotta drag them in to get engaged with you or the relationship. So
yeah, I totally agree. And like you said, those are some things you guys are already working through it, but just more intentionality, some setting some boundaries of when he can use the headphones, and you just being more visual, and knowing when he has them on, and requesting, here, we're the bigger ones. If you're in the house, we're the bigger ones, right? Because that'll let me know, like, hey, he's off limits. But then him also given that time to be off limit, to not be off limits, so he can be open to you just calling out or doing whatever, you know. So that sharing fondness and admiration, that still goes in line with building the emotional love bank. And, you know, what Gottman says is this is the antidote of contempt. And more importantly, it increases the amount of affection and respect that you have in that marriage relationship. And it's not good enough just to say, I'm fond of you, or whatever, but you have to let them know why. The importance of sharing why. Why are you fond? You know, I'm proud of you, I'm attracted to you, or I'm impressed with you, or, you know, be more specific. Like, I like how you did this, or I respect you for doing that. You know, share those things and share it often. And if this is not something you did before the pandemic, it could look like you're being fake or phony. But, you know, you just let your spouse know, like, hey, I'm trying some new things for our marriage relationship, and I'm really desiring for us to grow and advance even the more. And these are some things that I realized that I wasn't intentional about, and I want to be more intentional about being more affectionate. And that's what fondness is. It's not, again, this is not necessarily physical. People automatically go to the physical, but you have to have a non-physical relationship before you can have a physical relationship. That goes back to the friendship. It's not always hands-on. It's how you're treating them, it's how you're respecting, it's how you trust, how you're committed. So these are the things that we've missed when it came to marriage, because we were so busy rocking, knocking the boots, and not really building on these other principles and things that are required to build a sustainable and a sound relationship. So that's what I would say about that. And we're to the last one, but I'm gonna let Jill, if she wants to comment. Okay. And the last one is building a love map. And basically, when you build this love map, you're conscious of your spouse's world, what's going on in his world, what's going on in your world, what's going on in each other's lives. And that's very important when you're in a marriage relationship. You want to know, like, okay, what's going on in his brain? You know, what's going on, with him next week, just being more intentional about those things. And these are some things that you can ask your spouse, or you should be able to answer these questions. And I'm just throw some of these things out there. And when I throw some of these things out there, and if you don't know, that tells me that you need to be more intentional about building each other's love maps, because you truly don't know your spouse, and he or she may truly not know you. So can you name your spouse's two closest friends? Do you remember what he or she had on when you first met? Do you know any of their hobbies? What do they like to do for fun? What relaxes them? What calms them? Do you know what stresses they're facing right now? Don't say pandemic, because we all facing that, but anything in specific, do you know what's stressing him or her out? Can you describe in detail what they did today or yesterday? Did you even pay attention, or you just paid attention to yourself, right? So these are just things, just being more in tune, being more intentional, being more observant. This is a great time. I've learned so much about my husband during the pandemic. I've known him for 15 years, but during this time, we've just had a great opportunity to learn a lot more about each other. And it's been very refreshing. I've developed a greater love, a greater respect and appreciation for him, because he's helped me cook a lot. And my number one love language is acts of service. Huh?
Your love language, acts of services?
It is. My number one love language is acts of service, and he's been very instrumental. And it just the thing about it though, it's so natural to him. I was talking to him one day. He's like, that's just what I do. That's the household I grew up in. We help each other out. And I'm so thankful for that. So it's nothing for him to do laundry, to fold clothes, to do sometimes one thing he don't like to do that much is the dishes, but he will, or load the dishwasher. But everything else, like, he is totally there, present. He's truly in. He's in. And I truly appreciate that about him. He's very observant. He pays attention. I'll say something. He's like, no, you didn't say that. That's not what you said. He's very annoying sometimes, y'all. Very observant. He knows exactly what's going on. Even when I don't think he's paying attention, he's paying attention. And that's what building that love map is all about. Just paying attention. It's not about you all the time. It's about him a lot of the times. And one thing I'll say, not the last thing I say is, marriage and also submission is like a dance. It's a beautiful dance, and you're giving and receiving, and it's a constant giving and receiving. And if you are intentional and have the focus of giving and serving, and he or she is in that same space, it's like you will outserve and you will outgive one another every single time, because it's not about you. So your focus and your attention is, how can I serve her? How can I serve him? How can I be there for him or her? How can I encourage him or her today? How can I lift him or her up? But he's doing the same thing. So you're not missing out. Because see, many of you right now will say, well, what about me? What about me? I'm missing out. No, because if he's doing the same thing, you're going to get what you need. Giving and receiving. It's a constant circle, a cycle that goes and it never ends. So you're never you're never missing anything. And that's what you can do, ladies and gentlemen, during this time of the pandemic, during this time of the crisis. Just because a crisis is going on the outside doesn't mean that a crisis is going on the inside. You have all advantage. You have all control over what's going on in the inside.
That was good. I'm gonna do my best attempt to recap everything. I see so many guys coming on. I didn't get to shout everybody out. Is it Dana Ray? Hey girl. Hey Sierra, Antonia, Kay Elizabeth. Hey sis. Hey Sean, Tamara, Deborah. Another one of my sis. Love you guys. All right, real quick, you guys, get your pens if you haven't already. I'm gonna go through this, and Charles gonna correct me if I miss anything. The first thing she shared, this is building your marital house, is create a shared meaning. So really just getting to know that other person is absolutely essential. That's including getting in tune with their dreams and aspirations and things like that. I'm struggling to find my number 2 here. Make it
the life dreams.
Okay, make your life dreams. So that's number 2, actually. So make life dreams, number 2. Number 3, managing marital conflict, and really just, accepting your partner for who they are and all that. Number 4 is stay calm or calm down. Pay attention to your body. I want to say your vitals, right? I'm not going to say you don't need to get the blood pressure machine. You don't need to have a Fitbit, right? But just pay attention, be sensitive to your heart rate. Be sensitive to the anxiety level, how anxious you are about it. And then making judgments about when to engage with your partner. Number 5, be more conscientious about turning inward rather than turning outward. And y'all introverts, I don't want no excuse from you guys. You guys got to balance that out. I know this is like heaven on earth for some of us, right? But we have to balance that out and say, okay, this is the boundary. This is my work hours. This is what, this is time I'm going to get to my marriage. Date night, Cheryl talked about that, all that. And even when they're in conversations, paying attention to that. Number 6, sharing fondness and adoration and affection, just being aware with your partner. And number 7, bullying and love map. Cheryl did mention that if you guys join her email list, and I don't know if you have a freebie or how you want to do how they can join it. Maybe they should join your group and then you'll get the email. How do you want them to? Because
I said the website to subscribe, but they can definitely just go to Wives Who Win Training Center. So go to Wives Who Win Training Center, and there's a question that asks you for your email address. So if you do that and you put that email address in there, I'll make sure to send you that emotional bank.
And you also mentioned, Sherry, I know you did a master class and it was amazing. I didn't participate in all of it, but I know everything you touch is amazing, right? So how can people get that if they still want to access it? I know it's already passed, but I believe the replay is like a whole package with some bonuses. Can you tell a little bit about that for anybody who wants to invest in their marriage and use this time to grow for them and their spouse?
Absolutely. I would say this is a great opportunity for you guys to pick up on this e-course. It's a mini e-course. It stemmed from my masterclass, Wives Who Win 5-day masterclass. So it's basically talking about improving communication and maximizing intimacy in your marriage so that you can experience transformative change. So with that, you will get over 5 hours of teaching, over 100 plus PowerPoint slide with everything that I share during that teaching. You get buku bonuses, about 9 bonuses, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just a power-packed e-course that will help you to grow in oneness in your marriage. If you've had issues with intimacy, or even if your intimacy was okay, it will take it through the roof. You'll feel more sexy, more loved, more understood. You'll be able to communicate clearly, concisely, and express what you need and what you want, absent of fear, judgment, or embarrassment. It will help you to engage more emotionally. I talked about that emotional engagement. So if you need to engage more emotionally, not just sex, wanted and done it, but engage more emotionally and connect, then you definitely need to be a part of this e-course. And you can go to bit.ly/maximize my marriage, bit.ly/maximize my marriage. You can get it for a very small, tiny money investment for under $100. It's $97, and you will have lifetime access to this e-course, all of the material, and you will get the juice. And I can guarantee that if you watch these videos and you do everything that's required of you in this mini e-course, that you will begin to see change in as little as 30 days in your marriage. And the good thing about this e-course, Jill, is that the material that I teach is transferable. Not sure if you guys ever heard of transfer knowledge, but you can transfer this knowledge to other relationships. So it works in parental relationships, it works in children relationships, partnerships, employee-employer relationships. So the strategies that I teach are transferable, and you can utilize those to help improve communication and maximize intimacy in other relationships. Because if you don't know that you and your children have an intimate relationship, you and your parents have an intimate relationship. When we think about intimacy, we only think of couples, but intimacy is basically a personal, close-knitted relationship that you have with somebody.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So I dropped the first. I need to delete the first one I put. But bit.ly maximize.
That's it. My marriage. bit.ly.
It's like my and it keep going away. I think it's auto-correcting or something, because I'm like, hold on, I did it twice. Maximize. Oh God, stop auto-correcting. I think it's auto-correcting me. Let me get it together, because I did it twice and I'm like, what? I thought I had it. Yeah, just maximize my marriage. Maximize my marriage. Okay, I think you might have got it up there, Trail. bit.ly maximize my marriage. Okay, I think we got it up there. Mm-hmm. All right, you guys. Let me say, this conversation has been amazing. And you guys, we've been on here every Monday. Tonight we did get on a little later, but there's no reason why we don't have hundreds of people in the room on this conversation. The only reason is because people don't know we're here. And tonight we did get on a little bit later. So you guys, if everybody that's understand my voice, everybody that's watching the replay, do me one huge, huge favor. Please share this to your platform. Please share this to your platform. For whatever reason you're like, I don't like sharing, because I get it. Sometimes I don't want to share everything on my platform. Do me a favor and tag 3 friends. Tag 3 friends. I'm going to tag also my sister-in-law on here. She's about to get married soon. So I'm going to do my due diligence. I shared it to my page. Let's just take a moment right now and tag some married women that we know are women that's in preparation for marriage that need to be part of this conversation, because this was some good stuff. And these are some good tools. This is what people are missing. We thinking some manna's coming from heaven. This is your manna. This is the manna. This is what God is providing. The Savior's already come. He's already did his part. Oh, now it's time to do yours. Let's get to it. So, Trell, thank you so much for showing up. I'll see you next week. Probably before that. I'll probably give you a call too, because God also gave me something for you and I'll share with you. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate you. It's been a good conversation. You guys, please continue to tag, and share this broadcast. And be back here next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talking about more conversations about coping with COVID. We actually have somebody on that has recovered from COVID, and they're going to be sharing how they and their partners going to be sharing how to care for somebody with COVID and how you can give COVID-19 a black eye, because ain't nobody got time for that. Not in this year. Anything else, Troy, you want to say before we sign off?
That's all. It's been nice, you guys, and I appreciate you for chiming in, and we'll see you on next Monday.
See you next Monday. Be blessed.
All right,
for prayer tomorrow morning too. We will be on
5:30 a.m. prayer. All righty.
All right. Good night.
Good night.